Today on the Untold Story Told with Sal, you're going to meet Genevieve, a woman with a heart wide open and a mission that's changing lives. She's here to hold space for you to discover the real truth about alcohol, how it impacts your body, your mind, and even the beliefs you hold. In this conversation, Genevieve will guide you with powerful mindset tools to help you feel at ease. But what's most inspiring about Genevieve is her journey. As a mother of two and NLP-trained, she's walked through the dark places, found her way to the light, and now she's here to show you what's possible. This is a conversation about hope, healing, and the power of coming back home to yourself.
Hi, Genevieve. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on the Untold Story Told Podcast. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Sal. It's so lovely to see you again and to have a chat. I feel like we're just in a lounge room and we've both got a cup of tea and we're just going to have a soul sister chat.
Yes, Jerry, I'm equally happy to see you and also eager to learn more about your journey, where you've been at and what's been going on behind the scenes. A lot of exciting things to share with the audience today. And yes, I'm grateful for our connection. I'm grateful that today we are sitting here and we can talk in a way that we are, miles apart, but we feel like we're in the same room. I love that analogy. And I love it when you, as a guest, feel comfortable. And yeah, I do have a cup of coffee, not tea. As you can tell.
Very nice.
Back to school and Mama needs her coffee. So let's get into it. We will start a little bit with going into where you're at today, like your work, especially working with people with alcoholism. Could you talk a bit about where you're at today and how it's going for you?
Yeah, look, it's really rewarding work, and I guess what makes me happy is when I see people reaching their full potential. I'm really into that, and that's how I've raised my children. And I just see so many people that are so talented and so magnificent, but they've just forgotten because life's happened to them, or people have happened to them, or events have happened to them, and they've just got buried under with the stress and the obligations and, trying to be perfect and do all the things for all the people. And I think that they turn to alcohol, and it's not necessarily alcoholism, it's just alcohol in general that they're turning towards to either one, get a feeling that they're looking for in their life that they're not getting in their relationship or their career or their connection to their partner or children, or they're trying to fill a void. They're trying to fill a void because at the end of the day, I believe, and I guess I'm getting to the punchline already, but we're just here to love. We're here to love one another, to love ourselves and to love one another. And I think that's why people drink. And I have a bit of a story and a bit of an insight into that.
We would love to deep dive into that story, Genevieve. Just before the story, I was like, oh, wow, like I really want to know what people are going through when they do turn towards alcohol as what I call it is a coping mechanism. So
Yeah.
let's rewind a bit. What were the early days like for you, Genevieve? What were some of the key moments or experiences that
Yeah.
got you into the person you're today?
So I grew up in a country town, sort of in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales, Australia. Had loving parents, still do. I've got two beautiful parents, mum and dad, and I'm the eldest of four. And we just lived a very simple, humble life. My mum and dad, we're Catholics. We went to church every Sunday. We sat in the same pew each week, and we're just part of the community. I played hockey. My mum was the hockey coach. My mum worked part-time, my dad worked full-time, and life was busy, eldest of four, and went to the local school. Then I went to a all-girls Catholic high school, got taught by the nuns at Lochinvar, and I had a lovely childhood, filled with love and rules, some strictness, and I certainly was not allowed to drink or to smoke, and I wasn't allowed to drink until I was 18. And I was so curious to drink because everyone else was drinking and you'd hear stories and it was absolutely forbidden. And I respected that.
I grew up in a Muslim background and it was just understood
Yeah.
that alcohol is prohibited.
Yeah.
So we knew people around us who did have alcohol in secrecy and everything. So you have friends who are doing things like smoking, the drinking. And I think it gets curious around, for me, it was around 16 and 17 when I was like, am I the only one who's not doing what other kids are doing in the hiding?
I felt the same way. And I guess the more that it's forbidden, hearing other people drinking, and you're not really hearing a balanced story, right? As a child or a teenager, I think you're just hearing that someone's doing something that I'm not allowed to do, and it makes you want to do it more. And it's been a great foundation of how I've raised my children, but we'll get to that later.
When you tell a child
Yeah.
that this is wrong, and if you do this, then you know, have punished or grounded, and you stay
Yeah.
at home and you don't go out. The child will wonder what's behind the prohibited.
Exact-
So could you take on like that aspect of like what does when kids are prohibited to do something, how
Yeah.
does that cause them to lead on a pathway?
Look, and it's just my very, very humble opinion, and just this is just the way that I've raised my beautiful children who are 22 and 20 right now. My 22-year-old daughter is right this moment in London, and I've woken up to a text message this morning saying, I've just arrived in Sicily for 5 nights. So she's the adventurer. My son lives in Sydney and he's a perfect gentleman. I'm really, really close to my children. I miss them terribly. But I guess as a mother, we're always evolving, right? You know, it's hard to let them go because you start out with this mothering and nurturing, and they're just so cute, aren't they? And they've got these cute little voices, and they jump into bed with you, and they write you Mother's Day cards, and they try and make you banana pancakes. It's just adorable. It was my favorite, era, really. To quote Taylor Swift, my favorite era was when they were just tiny. But now I guess you have to sort of take a step back and realize that they've become exactly what you raise them to become: independent and curious and adventurous and brave and courageous and all those beautiful things. But when you're the mum, it's a little bit hard. Well, it is for me to kind of let that go. Plus, I became a single mum when they were 5 and 3. So that kind of altered my path somewhat because their father was like the CEO type and a good man and a good dad, just not the best husband for me, and that's okay. And I was more that nurturer. I really just wanted to be a hippie. Like, if I could have everything my way,
Hard right now.
I sort of, dropped out and lived in a van and was a hippie. But that wasn't meant to be. And so I really had to step up. When I became a single mum, I really had to become the mother and the father. And here's my secret: I never gave the children a way to say no. So I worded things really carefully. So instead of saying, let me think of an example. So I wouldn't say, like, don't touch the oven, because as we know, the subconscious mind doesn't process negatives. So instead, I would say, the oven is hot. It could burn you if you touched it. Or I wouldn't say, don't run across the road. I would say, please walk. And that just started because I was a single mum and I had to be able to manage everything, cope in a way that I couldn't possibly cope with dramas and arguments and resistance. So I had to find a way around not creating that resistance in the first place. Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense.
Yeah. So it kind of was a cheat sheet, I guess.
Yes.
Because it's not easy being a single mum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that, when we are faced with adversity or we faced with challenges, our mind gets into a mode of wanting to learn new ways of doing something that did not work the first time. And in that, I can see you as a mother wanting to, take care of them single-handedly would be a difficult and challenging place for you, but you thought that just by wording things differently,
Birding.
maybe I could,
Mm.
get them to think for themselves rather than always holding
Yes.
a finger.
I never tell. I'm asking them, I'm requesting them to do what I really would prefer them to do, which is to walk on the road.
Yes. And
Yeah,
that's also respecting, right?
absolutely.
When you were a kid, where was that point, do you think, where you had this moment where you could think that that kind of shaped you the most?
Me, I was just wanting to explore the world, push the boundaries a little bit, not too much. So the girls were going to the movies. That was a bus ride, about half an hour bus ride from where I was going. My parents would say, "No, you're not to ride the bus."
Mm.
And they would say, "We'll take you." And of course, that's not the point, is it? Because the point is to sit at the back of the bus and, chewing gum and I don't know what else, listen to our Walkmans back in those days. So I realized that as a teenager, I was exploring my parents' boundaries really, as well as my own. And
Mm.
so it didn't go too well for me, sort of like fighting back or arguing back or speaking up. I
Mm.
wasn't rude, but I was certainly passionate. And I think I challenged my mum because she hadn't challenged hers. And I think she found that very, I guess, confronting. Whereas for me, I was going to an all girls Catholic school. We were raised by the nuns, and our motto was girls can do anything. Back in those days, we didn't have any boys to distract us. And so daily, I was getting told that I could do anything. And so naturally, as a progression of that, I want to go and see the world, right?
Yeah.
And so it didn't make sense to me why you're sending me to this school to get this beautiful education, which I'm so very, very grateful for, but yet
Mm.
you're wanting to wrap me up in that.
Mm.
That's,
Mm.
that's two different things, right? Like girls can do anything, go on and become the woman you are. This
Yeah.
is, this, so I
Yeah.
challenged that. And mum and I would clash a fair bit. And
Mm.
my dad was just the
Mm.
calm angel. And my mum's an angel as well, but she just expresses it differently.
Mm.
And I guess when you're the mum, and I can see that now, when you're doing most of the raising of the children, you're doing most of the emotionally structuring, and you've got four little bodies to do that with.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can't help but just default to what their upbringing was. Children should be seen and not heard. Whereas they raised a independent, fierce little dragon that I wanted to tame all the dragons out there. So I think my mum found that, quite challenging.
I saw one cutting the other day, and it was this kid, and he's looking at his parents, and the parents are saying to that kid, and when he was 5, 6 years old, the world is your oyster. We want you to go ahead and do whatever you want, do what your heart says, and there's no
Yes,
limits, right? And then the same kid is like they show him as like this 25-year-old, and he comes in front of them, the same kid in the same lounge, and the same parents sitting like this and looking at him like no, you can't, no, you can't,
yeah,
no, you can't. And he's
yeah,
like, why did you even empower me or got me to think like that
exactly,
when you
exactly.
had to say no in the end? And
Yeah.
that can hurt a lot as a kid when you see that dichotomy playing up.
Very confusing. And what they're accidentally doing is they're wiring in fear.
Yeah.
So when I'm asking to go on the bus to go to the movies, it's very innocent. I have no awareness of what could possibly be dangerous about sitting on a bus. It's not sitting on a bus that's the problem. It's not knowing how to behave or to mix in with other people that have different standards. And I think the earlier you can teach and coach your children into understanding what their own values are, what their own standards are, they don't need that insulates them from the dangers that are out there and present, not sheltering them and wrapping them up and protecting them. No,
No.
because how can you possibly protect them from every scenario? You can't. So if you ingrain in them and help them to discover their own values and standards and what they believe in, like, for example, when my kids are kids, like I've got a daughter and a son, and they may have, when they were younger, left their room messy.
Yes.
So the old way of parenting, old school, would be, get in here and clean up your room, right? Or words to that type of effect and sentiment. Somehow, plus my personality, I don't like conflict. And so instead of saying that, I would say, hey, Jackson or Jackie. I got a lot of nicknames in my kids and I. A lot of friendliness, a lot of nicknames, lots of loving, cute little, Jackie, Jackie boy, Jackster, all that sort of thing. And with my daughter, it's, her name's Molly. So it's Mozzie Pozzie, it's Mole, it's Possum. It's all those cute little things. And so I would just say, hey, Jackie, got a sec? Can you just come over here and just in your room? Can you just come over here into your room? And, he would gladly kind of stop playing what he was doing or stop the TV show because I hadn't roused. He doesn't know what I'm asking him to do at that point, right? And so I'd just say, mate, just look. And I'd call him mate, and I still call him mate. Mate, just look around. Like, it's kind of hard to even find the floor, isn't it? I said, come on, mate. You're better than that.
Yeah.
You're better than that.
Oh, sweet.
And that sort of sentiment in which I raised them. I'm not saying you're a better or elite person than that. I'm saying your standards are better than that. Yeah. Beautiful. If they say, oh, so and so's going to a party, here's another example. So and so's going to a party, and can I go? This is common for teenagers, right? It would be like, well, how about I put the kettle on? And we'll have a cup of tea and we'll dunk our Scotch finger biscuits into our tea. And you can tell me all about this party because I can see it's really important to you. You can tell me who's going and when's it on, what time does it start. So do you see how it was like a conversation? It was almost a bonding, like let's make a cup of tea and have a chat. It sounds exciting. I'd love you to go. Tell me more.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
it was that type of approach.
Yes. And sometimes kids can't see something that they know, but they can't see it. And to be their eyes is also a beautiful analogy, I think. It's like, you're better than that. He probably knows he's better than, he knows he can do this better. And he probably knows the kids, I do believe that kids know that there is always a better way or what's right or wrong. Sometimes they cannot tap into it because they're probably thinking about something else or they're watching TV. And just to bring it to their awareness as a sight for what the way I'm saying it, so they can widen their vision as to, oh, I am watching TV, but there are clothes on the floor too. Maybe I can pick them up is a really amazing approach. Then, like, I would remember in the 90s, dad going like, turn off the TV and go to your rooms and fix the rooms until you're done. Dinner would be served. Why even create all of that? What if the kid is ready to help? What if the kid is ready to cooperate? But you putting him into the label of
Exactly. Exactly right. Hey, Jackson. Hey, buddy. Hey, mate. I'm just in your room. I was going to kind of fix something in here. If you got a second? And then they're coming more eagerly. They're happier to turn their thing off, and because you haven't triggered their fight or flight. And at the end of the day, I guess if to summarize that is, I raised with praise.
raised with praise.
I raised with praise. And that's not about getting, an award or a sticker just for, getting dressed in the morning. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things like, oh, I loved how you cleaned up that room. Wow. You did an amazing job. I didn't know that. That's outstanding. Do you know? Small little congratulate. I like the way you did that, or I like that choice you made, or gee, you did well on that.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's again, in my humble view, I was taking the easy way out because, like I said, I was a single mom. I don't have the time or the emotional capacity to be fighting with anyone. It's just too draining for me.
Well, what we have shared today is very powerful too, because there are a lot of moms who are not single moms, but
Yeah.
still single in the relationship when it comes to parenthood,
Yeah.
because maybe their spouse is not able to come up to the level that she can see that he can be as a dad or as a
Mm.
spouse. And so, then many women take it all on themselves to be that mother who the dad kind of things too and the mom kind of things too, not necessarily as a single mother do, because single moms have all the pickups and the drops and the other, things, right? But
Yeah.
in her mind, she could be divided with like taking up all the mental load of, I need to do the dad things because dad's not able to do them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can also happen with moms who could be having the spouse but still feeling single in it, and to have techniques like that would be really like, a
Yeah.
calmer and a better connected way of doing it.
For me, it was all about keeping the household, the whole ecosystem,
Mm,
very calm, very peaceful, very happy, and very positive. And I
mm,
remember saying, and their dad, who is a great dad, by the way, too, very, very different, parenting technique to me. And they would go and visit him and stay with him every second weekend. And they loved going to see their dad. And when they'd get home, they would tell me all the stories and things that I would like be thinking, I don't know what I would have. I don't know. I kind of would have given them McDonald's every Friday night. But anyway, that's. And I would just say to my children, you know what? You've got all the best parts of dad in you. You've got none of his negatives, none of the faults. You've got all of dad's best bits in you. Aren't you lucky? And I would just keep on praising them,
yes.
praising them. Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's beautiful. I would love to know, how was Genevieve taken on to the journey of matchmaking that happened and then leading to helping people with their alcohol addictions. Could you
Yeah.
walk us through your journey?
Sure. Sure. So you've heard me say I was a single mum, and so naturally went through separation, divorce, and engaging lawyers to find some sort of agreement and settlement, not just for assets, for the children predominantly. And like many couples, especially at that time, it's very hard to get agreement. It's not necessarily just the personality, it's the emotions that are being brought up. It's the loss, it's the grief, it's the lost dreams and disappointments that your life isn't actually turning out the way you thought it would be. And you really have to find a new identity when you go from being a wife to a single person again or single mum. It's a big identity shift. That's the little bit of background to that. And so what happened was I went to mediation to get a settlement with my ex-husband, and that worked quite well. And I wanted to become a divorce mediator. So I did. I went back to uni and I became a court appointed family law dispute resolution practitioner. So I was a family law mediator. And so I was seeing people at their most terrible, terrible times. It's not easy, it's not pleasant, it's very challenging. And I was trying to help people at that point. And what I realized was two things after all the mediations that I did. I realized that it could have been avoided.
Mm,
And here's why I think that we can avoid marriages dissolving if we got two things right in the first place.
yeah.
One, better selection, better selection in the first place.
In the first place. Yes.
Okay. That's probably obvious now.
Mhm.
And two, the skills to manage the relationship.
Mm,
They're the two areas I believe that could save marriages.
mm,
Better selection in the first place. So
mm,
that means knowing yourself,
mm,
knowing your values, and knowing what values you'd be compatible with. And then having the skills, develop yourself, self development, personal development. understand how the brain works and the subconscious mind and how patterns work and how you repeat patterns and trauma works from your childhood. You need to be able to understand all that so that you can understand your partner. Because if you don't understand yourself, how can you possibly understand a partner?
Yeah.
So I went into that mediation, and then I realized too far down the chain, they're too far gone. I need to get up the chain higher. I need to get them, I need to help them select right. So that's how the matchmaker business was born.
Beautiful. I love how you said that you felt that you were needed in that space. And even though, it's a place where people are really low, you equipped yourself with the right knowledge, tools, and techniques so you could help them, even though it was a
Yeah.
scary place. So tell me about facing something that scared you, but you knew you were needed, right?
Yeah. Well, I had something even scarier to face coming up in my life. And I didn't know that. I had no idea what was about to happen. Not only had my husband and I separated, but at the same time, within 6 weeks, my beautiful baby brother, he was 26 years of age, he passed away suddenly in his sleep. And there's not a day goes by that I don't think about my brother, Nicholas. Love you, Nick. Our whole family's life changed forever. And I didn't really know how to handle the grief of that. That was an irreplaceable, permanent hole in my heart. And I had no idea how to feel that. Losing my husband, or separating from my husband rather, that was a temporary loss, I guess, in a way, even though it was very sad and soul destroying. He was still there. He was still the children's dad. He was still in my life. But my brother had gone to the other side. And so that was a very different hole in my heart. And because I didn't have the personal development and the skills, I found solitude in red wine, drinking. And it would start with a glass a night. And you got to remember, I'm a single mom. My husband's left. My brother, my darling, darling, darling brother's just passed away. And I have a 5 and a 3-year-old. And very nothing like what I thought my life. And so I'm not really sure what made me pick up that first glass, but I did. And sadly for me, I didn't stop. So one glass would become 2 the next night. And then a week later, it was, 3 glasses a night. And very quickly, it became a bottle of red wine each night. And really, what I was doing, Sal, is, and I really only share this because I want to help other people that might be doing that to not feel the shame, because you feel a lot of shame when you're drinking. Especially when you've done all your duties, you've tucked your kids in bed, washed up all the dishes, and you're running the household and you've got the uniforms out for the next day. And you're sitting there in so much pain that you just don't even know who you are anymore. And what I realized was I was just drinking to numb the pain, because when you've had 3 or 4 glasses of red wine in particular, you don't feel anything except quite drunk. And so I was escaping the pain, but I was creating another pain. And I didn't know that. And so I was a bottle a night drinker until one day I got told something that changed my life forever.
Yeah.
And I was vacuuming one day. My kids were at school. I was vacuuming, as us mums do. We race around, get the kids to school, come back, vacuum the house, make the bed, go to job. You're working a job, trying to fit that in between school drop off and school pickup. And I was vacuuming one day, and I felt this, you're vacuuming, you're sort of doing that, and you're sort of hitting into the furniture a bit, and you're rushing. Felt this lump. It's actually in this arm. Felt this lump, and I thought it was my t-shirt. So I sort of pulled this out, but the lump was still there. It was sort of like an enlarged marble.
Okay.
I didn't really think too much of it, but I was teary and emotional, and I just wasn't coping. I was not coping. I was purely existing.
Mhm.
So I booked in I had a mediation, so I needed to do that. And I booked in to go to the doctor like a week later. And I went to the doctor presenting as, I'm not coping. I'm crying all the time. I think it's my hormones. I'm just, can you offer me some help? And they offered me some help. And then I said, and by the way, I have this lump underneath my armpit here, and I'm not sure what that is. So he said, oh, well, sit back down and take off your top. And he felt the lump. And then he said, I think you need to get a scan on that. I think you need to get a ultrasound. And when was your last mammogram?
Mm.
So I went to that, and that quickly escalated into scans and biopsies. And there was a lump, and I didn't really understand what was happening till I went back to the doctor and I got my results. And he just said to me, Genevieve,
Mm.
you have breast cancer. And I said, Okay, what does this mean? And the next question he said to me was, do you have support with the children? And I said, I can get more support. That was the first thing. Just so beautiful. He's retired now, that GP of mine. But that was the first thing he said was, do you have support for your children? And then he told me that his wife had breast cancer. And in my fear of hearing those words, I asked, and I'll never forgive myself for asking that, but I said, is she still alive? I guess it was the fear. And he said, yes, she is. And I stopped drinking immediately. I've never, ever had another sip of alcohol. And that was 8 years ago.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, we can give up our vices that we think we need when we really face the truth about ourselves and become the person that we're really meant to be.
Thank you for being so vulnerable on the podcast, Genevieve, because you see, there are many moms or many people just going through a lot. When we turn to, let's say, an addiction of any
Yeah.
sort, which is that I would say, is that the flight way of going towards find
Yeah.
a surviving way, right?
It's the escape. It can be like to alcohol, it can be TV, it can be relationship hopping, it can be shopping. So it's an escape. It's like I feel this emotion is so heavy right now. It is so big over me that I just need a tiny brief moment to escape it. And for me, that's what a sip of red wine did. For others, it could be watching, Netflix or overeating, or like I said, relationship hopping or shopping or causing fights with people. It's all about, I don't want to feel what I'm feeling right now. And I will do anything I can to push out and escape from that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can, like, when this happens, it's very easy to label it for ourselves as a survival way or saving myself or
Yeah.
finding peace. But it's just, you just want that one moment without that extra
Yeah.
pain, which,
Exactly, Sal. Yeah. You'll do anything, almost anything, you'll sell your soul just to have a moment, a brief moment to escape that emotion. And it's not really until you start to really detangle
Mm.
that woven history of emotions that it has got you stuck,
yeah.
that's creating this habit that you will find peace, but you will find peace.
Yes, and that's a beautiful message. I speak to moms a lot, and I feel like, they can be, as you said, shopping addictions and not addiction. Now I feel like rewording every word I say. Because seriously,
Habit,
there is
habit.
there's no one solid way of defining something. And when we do it, we put it in
Yeah.
a box and say, these are other people. No, it's us. Like, it's
Us.
the human process.
Yeah.
That saying that says I'm a work in progress rather than perfection. I love that because I think everything is, we're just processing ourselves. And
Yeah.
one funny quote I would say here is like, the older I get, I realize that everybody's as they go.
Yeah.
I find that so releasing because I feel like even if I went here and there to find a direction, whether it was right and wrong, or whether it was good for me or not good for me, as long as I keep taking the learnings from it and take it as like it's a human experience, right? Rather than putting myself in a box of why I did certain things, because the older we get, and I've realized that with my life too, is that awarenesses will come. They will come as like the most heavy, like, like the epiphany on you, and you'll be like,
Yeah.
Jesus, like, why did I do what I did, right? But it's
Yeah.
like what I'm trying to get at is, Genevieve, that your aspect of the way you're looking at it is a very compassionate way of looking at it, telling people that there is peace on the other side, rather than putting yourself as I've seen in people in like just general conversations can put themselves down in that conversation and go like, I did this. Whereas you're saying, I did all this.
Mm.
And now let me just tell you, there is a big sun on the other side, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's exactly why I created the Sober Sister. It's a sisterhood of for women that can feel safe and secure and heard without any shame, without any labels, or without any judgment.
Mm.
And they can feel safe to express themselves.
Mm.
And even if they're drinking one glass of wine a night or they're drinking a bottle a night, like I was, regardless if they're doing it just binge drinking on the weekend, if they're going 3 months and then having a crazy weekend and then living in remorse and regret and feeling ashamed and whatever, I created the Sober Sisterhood for women to feel safe and heard and unjudged and loved,
Mm.
so I could help them in their journey to sobriety.
Many women don't have supportive systems. And because they don't
Yeah.
have supportive systems that tell them something other than what they're already thinking, for instance, a woman could be thinking, my life is going really bad and I have no hope. And another friend could be telling her, yes, no hope is a bad place to be. I also have experienced no hope. And then this just goes into a place of no growth, and both women can take that kind of heaviness.
Right.
So,
Yes.
how important do you think it is to hold hands together as women
Yeah.
or like do the old way of like having a tribe of women sit together and just be there sitting and holding space for each other?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important. You're so right there, Sal, because when I was drinking, I didn't know how to not to stop drinking, and I was hiding it. It's what we do in secret. We do it behind closed doors because we are ashamed. And so I looked at AA. I didn't want to stand up in front of 12 people and tell them, who I was and that I was an alcoholic. I didn't want to go to that meeting every day. I didn't think I was that bad. I tried medication from the doctor. There's a drug you can take called naltrexone, and that is a drug that you take half an hour before you have a drink to make you not drink. Well, that doesn't work because I just wouldn't take the tablet, right? And I had a fear that my ex-husband would find out that I was drinking so much if I got assessed as mentally unwell, and that I was worried that the children would get taken. So I was really, really stuck. I did not know where there was a safe place where I wouldn't be judged, that there would be no label, it would be private and confidential, and I could actually get some support that I needed. And that's why I've started the Sober Sister. It's a 30-day challenge. It's just one day at a time where you are fully engaged and fully supported with someone that's been exactly where you've been and has come out the other side.
Hmm. That's beautiful. That's something connected to what I also like to create is spaces where, women can come together in sisterhood. You don't have to have a sister to call somebody a sister.
Yeah.
And it brings back the analogy of like sometimes people turn to blood relatives for support and all that. And when they can't find it, it hurts even more
Yeah.
because it's just natural to expect from, let's say, mom or from a sister.
Yeah.
So, on the other side, rather than looking at that as a big issue, I think the good way of looking at it is turn to people who are there for you, turn to support systems that are there for you. And I've seen that a lot in with the moms that I speak to when we're new moms, and I've been there too. It just feels like where's the support, where's the village, and it might just be there might be a support system, let's say a circle of women that get together around your area, or it could just be the friend next door, just the girl who keeps saying that if you need any eggs I'll get them for you. But
Yeah.
because we're so stuck in our tunnel view of like my mom's not there for me, or my sister's not there for me, or my best friend is not there for me, we
Yeah.
feel like we are alone in motherhood. So
Yeah.
could you talk a bit about that?
About motherhood. And
Yeah.
so I guess it comes back to what I said a little bit before when I said about the matchmaking, right? About the reason why I identified after being a mediator, a divorce mediator for so many years, is I identified poor selection in the first place and not enough skills to manage the relationship, the ups and downs and the conflicts. And I guess really that goes for motherhood too, right? It's because I guess poor selection in the first place. Well, we're not told.
Mm.
Not told how to be a mum.
Yeah.
Just like we're not told how to choose the right partner. We're not really told how to be a mum other than what we inherit, and we spoke about that earlier, from our own mums. And sometimes if that didn't kind of work so well for this generation, where's the manual? Where's the manual to be a mum? And I guess the second part is, where are the skills? How do you get the skills?
Mm.
And I have found that throughout my life that skilling up, skilling up and personal development, developing yourself personally, which is what personal development is, whether that's through life coaching, I do hypnotherapy with my clients. The greater you know yourself, the more impact you will
Mm.
have in the world, the more potential you'll reach. And then that creates a ripple feeling in the village that you speak of. It just takes one person to stand up and say, I will start the village.
Mm.
Come, if I start the village,
Yeah.
let's build it together. And I think women are really good at that.
They're good at that. You must have first started when your journey from being a divorce mediator. You must be feeling very alone in that process too, right? You must be feeling like, will this work? Am I going on the right path? But what was that one thing that kept you going during that time? Like, was it just a mantra in your head, or was it just focus or goal?
It was a few things. I don't think I can narrow it down, but maybe you and I together can figure that bit out. It was a few things. It was knowing who I really am as a woman.
Mm.
And how did I get to that? I had to let go of who I wasn't.
Mm.
I had to let go of the parts of me, and they were many, many, many parts of me that weren't really me,
Mm.
that they were a persona that I had taken on to survive a certain situational scenario. They were just a persona of me. And once I could understand the pain that that
Mm.
persona was carrying, and I could let that pain go, I could let the personas go. And then when you let all those pieces go, then you reveal the real woman, the real soul of the woman, the person that our creator put us on the planet to be. And I think that goes for everyone, right?
Yeah. Beautifully said. And I love what you also brought forward before was that when you learned that there was something that your body was telling you about you and you got it checked, that you realized that that was your limit, right? And what's beautiful in a deeper way about it is that you were listening to your body. You were paying attention to what it was saying.
Yeah.
As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, disease is just dis-ease in the body. And further on, what I understand is that it's just a body's way of telling you that it's not in ease, as in it is in like it's not feeling good. And many people don't pay attention to what their body's saying. Many women don't hear the soft whispers from your body, as they call it. Do you think it's important to go with that inner knowing, with that intuition, as people say, when you are feeling like your body's trying to tell you something?
Yeah. 100% Sal. I turned 50 last year and I had dinner with my beautiful children. They're 23 and 20 now. And, they said to me, Mum, what's your top 10 lessons? What have you learned in 50 years? And, it was a great question. And we sort of chatted through that all over dinner. And then I asked them, of course, what have they learned in their beautiful young 20 years? God love them. And what came out of me, it was unrehearsed, unprepared. And I just said to them, you know what? You have to learn to put yourself first. You have to learn that that's not selfish,
Yeah.
that is a label that society has given to those people that they're not putting themselves first. They're being rude.
Mm.
There's a difference between honoring yourself and putting yourself first and putting yourself first and being rude about it. There's a difference. There's a very big difference, in fact. And I think putting yourself first and this selfishness has got this bad rap, this bad label that we've developed. But it's not. And the airlines have got it right. When the airlines say put your mask on first before you help your child, well, that makes complete sense, doesn't it? Because if you can't breathe, you're not going to be conscious to put the mask on your child. So of course you've got to put your own mask on first. And the first time I ever heard that when I was on an airplane, I thought that was selfish, and now I don't. Now I understand that that is actually what self-love is.
Connects very well to the quote that I put up yesterday on Instagram. So,
Right.
not putting yourself first is putting yourself last. And then it gets you to appreciate the other part, right? So, it says, always putting yourself last isn't generosity, it's self abandonment. True compassion requires showing up fully for yourself first and then extending that same depth of care to others.
Um, I love that, Sal. I love.
And it's so connected to what you said about the oxygen mask. I always bring it up with the women when I'm talking to them in my webinars, and it's so relatable, right? And I think children feel it. When you're taking care of yourself, kids know it.
Absolutely. And I didn't follow that mantra and didn't realize how important and imperative it actually is until I had to fight for my life. When I got cancer,
Mm.
I had to put myself first because I wouldn't have survived. If I had kept on putting everyone else's needs above mine, I wouldn't be here, Sal. But I really want to get the message to women is don't wait until you have an absolute disaster on your hands before you put yourself first.
Yeah.
That's the hardest way to learn how to do that. The way I did it was the hardest way. Why wait? If you have the wisdom now, if we're being brave and sharing our stories and saying, "Hey sister, I see you. I feel you, babe.
Mm.
Please love and honor that you were born as a beautiful, whole, perfect human being. Please find that part of you again. Please let go of those personas that you think are protecting you."
Love and honor. Love and honor yourself on a daily basis rather than waiting on that moment of when somebody does not love and honor you and
Yeah.
feel like, oh, yeah, they're right. And of course, you'll feel they're right because if a person is not on a daily basis saying to themselves that I love and honor you, it's like an empty place. Anybody can come and tell you bad things in that empty space and you can take it on. But that's the idea, right? You said that why wait for that
Well,
moment everything is crashing down, or in tarot, they say the tower moment. Why wait for that? Why not just be in that, in daily gratitude, daily telling yourself that I love you, I value you, I respect you, so that, life is bound to bring challenges. There are bound to be things that we won't be able to handle. And you've explained it yourself through your stories that there was one thing happening and that second thing happened and everything was just all together, right? We can't even protect our children from those kind of circumstances. But what we can do on a daily basis is remind them or also remind ourselves of our value, our honoring, and our loving, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think if we just reworded, how we started today with like the wording of things,
Yes.
instead of put yourself first, I think it's the word put that is putting people off.
Yep.
I think if we reworded that to love yourself first,
Oh, yes. I love it. I'm going to write it down.
love yourself first. That doesn't have that selfish connotation, but it means the exact same thing. When you love yourself first, you have more love to give to the children or your husband or your partner or your work colleagues or your mom or your dad or your siblings. When you love yourself first,
Mm.
you have more love to give. When we're reacting or we're yelling or short tempered with our kids and our family or our spouse, it's because we don't have any love left in the tank. And like I call my children sweetheart, honey, darling. I've learned to call myself that too. What would the world be like if we just started speaking to our husband and our sisters and our children and ourselves the way that we do speak to our cute little, you know, I
Yeah.
just love little babies, their cute little voices and their cute little curly hair. I took care of a few other little things I did as a mum when the kids were home more. I always would call every now and then a family movie night. Family movie night is full attendance, no excuses. Everyone has to attend. When I say everyone, Molly and Jackson for me. So I gave them like a week's notice. When they were little, I didn't have to give them much notice, but as I got older and they have their own car and their own schedule and they're in university. So when you call family movie night, the kids get to choose the movie. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we always have the same meal, which is Nachos Supreme. Nachos Supreme is basically me chopping up all the cucumber, tomato, lettuce, cheese and black beans or whatever, and the corn chips, putting them on the bench, the kitchen bench, and just the kids just go for it. They just stack up, cheese and corn, and it's called Nachos Supreme, and it's family movie night. And so that's something that we still do, even at the age that they are. And another tip I did was I used to watch the shows that they watched,
Yes.
either with them,
Mm.
mostly with them.
Mm.
And that meant that I had a lot of dialogue. One, I
Mm.
could see what was influencing them.
Yes.
Two, it opens up dialogue because I could say, oh, what did you think about Billy in that? I thought he was with Lucy, but, he secretly likes Beth. And so it would just form this, and for my son, for the mums that have got, the boys out there, we watch Drive to Survive, which is Formula One, or Alone Australia or Alone USA, which is surviving in the wilderness. So I always watch shows. I mean, I watch my own shows too, but I always watch shows that they liked that was on trend for them so that I could stay relevant and part of the conversation.
I completely get it. And that's how I've only just realized that I can do that and how
Yeah.
much they want me to watch their shows with me. They're all like, when I pass through the kitchen, they're like, Mom, can you sit down with me? Can you watch this with me? And I'm like, they're actually wanting to share their private space with me. So why shouldn't I listen and hear? And I do that. I do weird things like, why did Bluey, not, listen
Yeah.
to now something? I think mom was right. Or like I take sides and then they're like, no, mom, I'll tell you this. And I've got a 7-year-old boy too. So they're together, they have their own viewpoints. And mom's like,
Yes.
acting like she knows nothing about anything. And then, yeah, with my older daughter now, I'm like, if a cute guy comes up in a show, I'm like, I think he's hot. And she's like, Mom,
Yeah.
stop.
Your TikTok, my daughter loves food. I used to be a chef a long time ago. And so she loves food and all the TikTok trends are all about food. And so she's always saying, Mom, the latest trend is, halloumi and tomatoes, baking dish. And so I'd go out of my way, I'd go and buy those things and we would make those things together as well. So it's just all about the way children experience love. They spell love as Time.
Uh,
That's how children spell love.
look,
They spell love as Time. So when I pick them up from school, I don't take any phone calls from anyone else. The two most important people in the car right then was Molly and Jackson. Even when I came home, we made afternoon tea. I would never be on the phone with,
yeah,
yeah, they spell love as Time.
beautiful.
And
Yeah.
as they get older, they naturally wean themselves away from you. That's just natural.
Mm. It will happen. So,
It
you
will happen.
people go like, oh, don't, like with my 7-year-old boy. Sometimes I do lie down with him before he goes to bed because he just wants mommy to tell a story and get very cozy in there. And I also kind of like that little coziness.
They will naturally wean themselves away from doing that because they get jobs and they go on to study or they do what they, and so naturally that just happens. But if they know that mum is always there and dad, but we're talking mums here today. If mums are always there, yeah, and that's just probably how I express my love is for myself. I love my children through loving myself.
And we've all kind of, I mean, I've seen it, that video of you dancing on your 50th birthday. I was like, this is beautiful. So that's inspiration for me in another 8 years. I will be dancing wearing a red dress.
And look, Sal, that was almost like part of, celebrating that I'd survived, right? Too, that I'd survived. Life is so beautifully fragile and temporary. Whatever, your listeners are going through, mums or dads out there, it's
Yeah.
temporary. And you have all the resources inside of you right now to be able to reach your full potential in yourself and all of your relationships. The more you let go of those old personas that don't serve you, that you inherited or society gave you or labeled or your mum or dad labeled you, the more you release yourself from those personas, the more your natural soul and heart will shine. That's when you feel the peace and the love.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
talking about loves, how did matchmaking first start for you as a business? And then how did that lead to helping people with alcohol issues?
Yeah, sure. I guess with the matchmaking, I discovered that people had put personas on them. They were stuck in these personas. And so as a result, they really had quite unrealistic expectations of what love was
Mm.
on both sides, men and women. And then I had another health challenge. The breast cancer showed up in a lymph node and I had to go and have that treated. And as we've just been discussing, love yourself first. So I stopped doing the matchmaking and I loved myself enough to go and put all the treatment I needed to have to address that tumor. And so I stopped that business. After I had treatment for that tumor, I'm holding here because it was in my neck. And I had to love myself first, right? And stop doing the work and that business and really go into it was 12 weeks of intense radiation and recovery. And radiation is every day in a certain area of the body. And yeah, it builds up and there's a bit of recovery involved with that. So loving myself first, I stopped the business. And I guess in my recovery of that, I really started to understand what's my top value in life. And whilst I was raising the children, it was my children. My children were number one for sure. Then my health. And then personal development, learning, teaching, coaching. But I realized in that recovery, my values had changed. And that really, because my children, one's overseas, one's in Sydney, really my role as the mother was not as hands-on. The connection's still there, but it's not hands-on. I'm not dressing little kids for school or packing lunches anymore. I'm probably paying for fueling cars and that sort of thing. So I realize that my value, it has to be health.
Mm.
Number one has to be health. Can't be second anymore. It can't be after the kids or business or a spouse or the family. Health has to be number one because I want to stay around. I want to live as long as the dear Lord will have me on this earth. And so health has to be number one. Absolutely. It's a non-negotiable. And so as a result of just sort of like talking myself through that healing and understanding that health is number one and love yourself first, I realized that what alcohol really was doing to people's health, what it did to my health and what are the ingredients in alcohol? What's actually inside that bottle? What are we actually drinking? Because everyone sort of, you remember it was trendy to be like no tox and detox? That was a bit of a trend and it's probably still is. But yet we would still swizzle, a glass of red wine and not really, they don't put the ingredients on the back of the wine bottle. But when you look at the ingredients on a bunch of grapes, it just says, well, on my grapes, it just says organic red wine, red grapes, organic red grapes. That's what the label says. But how
Yes.
do you get the grapes into the bottle?
Yes.
There's a process. And the stuff they have to do to those grapes,
Wow.
make it ferment, is sugar and yeast.
Okay.
And then they use fish bladder.
Oh,
For those who have made clear soups, we
yeah.
use egg white or fish bladder to get all the sediment up. So they do that. So fish bladder is in your wine. And in the fermentation process, that creates ethanol. So, when you see E10 or E55, and those are the cheaper ones,
Yeah.
it's fuels, that's actually ethanol. Ethanol is also in the bottle of red wine or white wine.
Wow.
No word of a lie. Now, they don't put the ingredients on a bottle of wine because it's illegal. But I can tell you because I'm your friend.
It's
Yeah.
illegal. It's illegal to put it on.
It's illegal for them to put that on. And if they did, no one would drink it. But yet we go to the supermarket and we'll compare
Yes.
this corn chip to this, or these baked beans to this, and we're looking at the salt and the sugar content, or this chocolate to this vegan chocolate. But
Yes.
yet we don't look at the sugar content on our wine or our beer for that matter, or the mixes. Like if you're drinking your gin and tonics, or you're drinking gin and lemonade, or whatever you're drinking, we're not seeing the label, but yet we'll painstakingly, like get our glasses on and read the labels at the supermarket. But we don't do that in the bottle shop. So that's when I started to realize that, and maybe, just maybe, if I hadn't have gone through those losses and that grief and I hadn't have turned to the bottle, maybe my immune system and my endocrinic system and my neurology, if I hadn't have been putting all that toxins into my body, maybe my immune system wouldn't have got so run down. And maybe I wouldn't have got cancer. I don't know. But anyway, that's a question that I'll never be able to answer. But here's what I can answer. Is alcohol good for you? Absolutely not. Not in any capacity. Not even a glass of red wine. Someone invented somewhere that red wine was good for the heart. That is absolutely rubbish. No, it is not. And so that's why I invented the Sober Sister.
Beautiful. Like, the sisterhood in also letting go of alcohol. And that makes it interesting because usually women, when the kids are in bed and a few friends come over, you're having white wine or red wine. I've seen that happening a lot. You're saying the opposite of it. You're saying once you realize it's not good for you, and I'm telling you it's not good for you, then you can have a sisterhood where you can be amongst others who do connect at that level of that is
Exactly. And we just start with 30 days because if someone had said to me, here's a story. I was so desperate to get some help. I thought I'll go up to a health retreat up in Queensland. And I rang the health retreat and said, I didn't tell them my whole story, but I just inquired, and do you serve alcohol? And they said, oh, no, we don't have coffee, red meat, or alcohol. And I said, so could you bring alcohol and have a glass of wine in your room? And they said, no, we would check your bags on arrival. And you know what? I couldn't stop drinking just for 3 nights. I could not see myself stopping for just 3 nights. And so I didn't go. I kept drinking and I didn't go to the health retreat. Now that I've stopped drinking, I've been to that health retreat 4 times because it's just amazing.
And that's a
And
brilliant example of loving yourself. So, like, you
the-
put yourself first. When you were not, it was not working out in many, many ways.
Exactly. And so I guess the Sober Sister, the 30-day challenge, it starts on the first of every month and it's just for 30 days. It is like a mini health retreat because I'm a little bit addicted to health retreats. I'm just going to own that. I love myself a health retreat. Love myself 3 meals a day that I don't prepare and it's nutritionally balanced. Love my yoga, love my meditation. So I guess what I've tried to do in this 30-day alcohol-free challenge in the Sober Sisterhood is 30 days of education, support, love, and uncovering and realizing and accepting what is that void you are trying to fill and how can we fill it another way? What persona is driving you to drink that we could now let go of together because
Yeah.
it's safe to do so? And it's just for 30 days. I'm not suggesting that 30 days could lead to 3 months and 3 years, or 30 days could lead to 3 months, 3 years, and 33 years.
And it's the idea of doing it consistently, right? How many of us, we know so much that is good for us, but do we practice it daily? For instance, I've been trying to get back into my habit of waking up early in the morning because it worked really well to wake
Yeah,
up, it's wake up and do my own little, meditation, go for a walk, me time, journal. I used to do that a lot once upon a time. And then when I stopped, it's hard getting back into it. I think the 30 days you've just said right now connects very well with the idea of if you do consistently one thing a day, it then builds an habit for you.
yeah,
And I can see it profoundly affecting these women who will be joining in a way that they can build a habit which
yeah,
get them out of the habit that was not working for them, a healthier habit.
yeah, exactly, Sal. You got it spot on there. And you were loving yourself and you were even patting yourself on the back, going, "Come on, girl."
Oh, yeah, that's something that I built a habit
Yeah.
on. There was a coach I once had, and I learned a lot through that coach. And one of the things was always used to do this. And that's like me just always doing this, but like, I also do this and
Yeah.
this. So thank you. Where can everybody find you?
The Sober Sister. Yeah, just on WhatsApp. You'll find it on WhatsApp and just reach out, send me a message and we can go from there. And, you know, you just might surprise yourself.
Yes.
Just might surprise yourself on how differently you will feel where you've got far less toxins in your
Yeah.
body and in your brain.
As we also talked about before, the fact that it's easy to find people that just go high five with you and go like, yeah, I'm going through the same as you. But it's hard to find, support systems where they tell you a new way of thinking. And I think coaching is beautiful that way because, you relate to the other person, but then that they can give you some information you did not know. It's not always easy to look through a book or watch a video. Sometimes you need that other woman or the other coach or the person who tells you, you're doing well, right? And I can see that happening in your WhatsApp channel too. I mean, there will be lots and lots of support for the women who want to know what's the next step. Do I need to join rehab? Do I need to do this? I'm sure
Yeah.
you're able to help them with so much that you've learned along the way.
I think the difference between therapy and a coach, and I'm a coach, is therapy is talking about the problem. That's what therapy is. Therapy is talking about the problem and not getting a lot of tools. Coaching is totally different. Coaching is saying, here's the problem. Yes, there is identification of the problem, but a good coach sees the resources inside of you and taps into those resources that you already have that you've accidentally forgotten to use at the moment. That's what a good coach does. It sees the potential in you.
Yes. It's like a remembrance, right, of what we have forgotten about ourselves, and that
Well,
we are the heroes of our own stories. And then a coach can tell us that. And it's beautiful. I've had a few coaches all my life, and that's why I thought that was the way to go for me too, because I was like, if there were coaches who were there for me when I needed them the most, then there must be others who need more and more coaches too.
yeah.
Why can't I be that coach? And lovely to be connected in a space where we have like-minded coaches with you.
Yes.
Connect coaching and all that. Connor and Callum, such amazing role models, showing us every day that, to believe in our possibilities, to believe in our vision, and that we're not alone and we're supported and connected, right?
Exactly. And I've got one little final mantra that I
Yes.
tell my clients is everything you want in life is on the other side of fear.
Ah,
Everything you want in life is still available to you, and it's on the other side of fear. So if you're letting fear hold you back and you're not getting your goals, you don't have in your life what you want to have, it's because fear is getting in the way, and they're all on the other side of fear. Everything you want in your life is on the other side of fear.
Now, Genevieve, would you be able to tell us, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Oh, how young?
Oh, to 17.
Oh, if I could tell a 17-year-old girl, I would tell her to not drink.
A drink.
I would say, don't drink, don't start. I would also say that your soul can't create something that it's not possible for you to achieve. Your soul will only ever create what it knows you have the talents, resources, and ability to achieve. So if you can dream it, if you can think it, you can make it happen. And it'll only be other people's fears, society's cultural norms that stop you. But
Love
if
it.
your soul has desired that for you, go for it. That's meant for you.
It's always lovely to hear what someone has to say. And I don't know, for me, 17 was coming as an age for you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
right now. And before we end, there's always something that I used to do, and I'm bringing it back into the podcast. And it's just pulling out a power thought card for you, which
Oh,
is by Louise Hay.
yes.
So,
Yes. Oh,
okay.
beautiful. Yes.
Fuzzy, but anyway, I'll quickly pull out a card for you. You've been with us for such a long time. Thank you for your time and energy. And this is just a quick gratitude for
Okay.
the time you spent with us, all the energy, all the stories, all the wonderful things that you've never spoken about before. Really do appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. And I know the listeners and the viewers would be getting so much out of this. And this is it, real stories and coming from the heart. We need that more and more, especially in the AI world. So, dear universe, what is the message that Genevieve needs to hear today? What is the message? I
Yes.
said, I balance my I balance my masculine and feminine sides.
Oh, I love that.
The imagery, I hope you can see it.
Yeah, I can.
He's meditating, it looks like, and I'll send you a
Yeah.
picture of it so you can understand it for yourself.
Thank
Louise Hay is very well known for her the illustration as well. There's a moon and a sun. So and trees.
you.
So if you look at the number of trees and also try to understand, like maybe there's a deeper message.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Sal.
Very good. And there's nothing at the back, so I'll read that for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says, the masculine and feminine parts of me are in perfect balance and harmony.
Okay.
I am at peace and
Mhm.
all is well. So I sent a picture of both sides, okay?
Amen to that, sister. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. I hope it's focusing a little bit. Anyway, it's not focused. Yes, finally. So just wanted to share that with you today. Thank you so much for your time and energy, Genevieve. It's been wonderful. Send you a picture of that. You have a beautiful day moving forward. A heart-touching sort of long podcast, which I love. I didn't even realize how time passed. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, beautiful. I love you, Sal. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.